Good day. Welcome to Putnam Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. We are produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Tompkins Mahopac Bank right here in Putnam County, also by Robeson Oil, the house that service built by Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis by Hightower Westchester. Managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard by White Plains Hospital and by Michael Labriola, Landscape Design and Construction of Armonk. On what's happening in the Lower Hudson Valley here on Putnam Talk Radio, we are joined by Paula Hernandez, the Executive Director of the Brewster Chamber of Commerce. Paula, you stepped into the role a little less than a year ago, last fall. Your predecessor, once the pandemic hit, day one, almost 18 months ago now, what did your predecessor do and what have you done to help keep the group viable through this pandemic? And I know we want to say we're out of the pandemic. We are not yet.
No, thank you, John. Brewster Chamber was very proactive right from the beginning of the pandemic. We were able to coordinate with a number of local agencies, including the Putnam County Health Department, the Putnam County Economic Development Council, et cetera, so that we were on top of what was happening so that we could then be kind of the hub of communication for our numerous members. We were able to source PPE for them so that they were able to get it quickly and at low or no cost whatsoever. So that really helped us. And then through the pandemic, we have so many different sectors of business that are members in our chamber that, some did actually quite well. Others, it was a very, very difficult time. And it broke a few, unfortunately. So we tried to keep things going as best we could without being in person. Obviously, the Zoom fatigue sets in at some point, but we tried to shake it up and have some professional speakers, a little bit of professional development, a little bit of fun. We had a nice raffle in December. And we gave away a whole home generator. We tried to do a lot of different things to keep our members busy. And that raffle, really helped us with our scholarship fund this year because like all the nonprofits, we are one of them. What we do is nothing compared to what the nonprofits in Putnam County do. But, we have our scholarship fund. And because of that raffle and another one that we held in January, we were able to send 4 children, 4 high school seniors, I should say, to college with a nice scholarship, each of them.
What schools did those seniors come from?
All from Brewster High School. Some of them are Brewster High and Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES as well. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Brewster Bears, right?
Correct.
There you go. Dressed in green, right?
Absolutely.
There you go. All right. Now that home generator, I'm sure, came in handy during the winter, too, that you gave away.
Oh, absolutely. Our winner was quite impressed by it. Yes.
Now, mention the name of your predecessor to give that person a shout out.
Sure. Rosa Glico is the former executive director here at the chamber, and she'd been here for 10 years. And, it was because of the pandemic that she ended up moving. She and her husband decided it was time to retire and see if they could sell the house. And the house sold pretty quickly, as we know how the housing market worked back in November.
You bring up an interesting point about what the group did throughout the pandemic, and you talk about being a nonprofit, and you hear the name Brewster Chamber of Commerce. People don't realize that a Chamber of Commerce can be nonprofit. This is what community service is about, what you've done throughout this pandemic.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important, for chambers in communities. A lot of people don't realize what we do. And there are many different kinds of chambers. There are tourism chambers, there are business chambers, there are even some lobbying chambers. What we do here at Brewster Chamber really is support our business members and our community as best we can.
Mm-hmm. Have you had totally throughout, since you came aboard, a total can-do mentality through all of this?
We have to. We're in it together. So, right. That sometimes almost helps makes it a little bit easier. What can we do, not what can't we do? So we kept our meetings every third Wednesday of the month. We have our member meetings. We couldn't have them all the time in restaurants, but last summer we were able to hold an outdoor dinner meeting. It was food truck style. So at least our members had that social distancing, but still had the ability to meet, network, etc. Because business can't stop. So that's definitely how we've been looking toward the future as well. What can we now do in the new normal? And so, for instance, our next business dinner is our networking dinner is in August, and we're hoping to do it on a patio at Southeast Grill House. If the weather permitting, of course. But
at Southeast Grill House in Brewster, correct?
That's correct. On Route 6 in Brewster, and we're trying desperately to make it comfortable and safe for everybody.
What kinds of businesses prospered during the pandemic, and what kinds of businesses have had their, quote, challenges, unquote?
Sure. And this is an interesting one. For instance, we have a member named Forza Forni. They make Italian pizza ovens. They service primarily the commercial sector, restaurants. Their restaurant business fell significantly through the pandemic, but their residential business soared, and they did very well. So the fact that, they had trouble as well with staffing. But that's great for them. They had a kind of a renaissance of new clientele, etc. And then one thing you wouldn't expect, hair salons in the chamber, because of the people moving up north from the city. The hair salons actually did quite well, believe it or not. Some, it depends on, location, but we have one CISO salon in Putnam Lake, and the owner, Maria, was overwhelmed by the new clientele that she was receiving at her salon.
You still have to look good, right?
Absolutely. And she, she was very careful to adhere to all of the COVID restrictions and safety arrangements. So, so she thrived. And whereas, some of our restaurants, unfortunately, it was really tough for them. So they just shifted, and, the famous pivot during the pandemic, Aversano's restaurant in Town Square over on Route 22, they were able to, or Town Center, they were able to offer takeaway like most, utilize the food delivery services. They even had the specialty cocktails that were for takeaway, which really, helped with families, especially around the holidays, to be able to have a nice, family get together, in their homes where maybe, everyone's a little bit disappointed they couldn't cook, or what have you, couldn't get together in big groups. They were able to take away some really fancy meals, and it's a little cheaper, so it's not like you have to cook for 40 people.
Right. Did businesses pivot quickly throughout this pandemic?
I think most did. You've always got some that will resist or even, and you can't really blame anyone for being a little paralyzed, not knowing what to do. But, it just takes one, and then you see how they do it, and you say, okay, well, if this restaurant is providing this service, let's see how I can do it. In the restaurant sector, the ones that seem to have the ability to have the types of food that lent themselves to takeout did better than the ones that didn't. And then you've got our party services. We've got Durant tent rentals and party rentals, and they were able to service home parties instead of maybe the graduations and weddings, etc. There were more home-based celebrations outdoors. So even in the fall and winter, they were providing tents for that. So
how about construction, plumbing, electrical services? And look at this from the standpoint of that people need things done around their homes, but during the pandemic, you don't want anybody who's not from your home coming into or being around your house.
Interestingly enough, of the number of different repair and home improvement companies in the chamber that I've spoken with, at first people were nervous, but things need to get done.
Right.
People have emergencies, etc. And the companies were very quick to react, to make sure they were wearing their masks, their protective gear, not coming into the home if they didn't need to. And we actually, a number of our members have done really well in the repair and home service industry throughout the pandemic. A lot of it being people are home, and they're seeing the things that need to get done, and they're not taking vacations, and they're not spending on transportation, the commute or what have you. So, I can speak for myself. I've had a few chamber member businesses come over and do some home improvements at my place.
Uh-huh.
They've been great. They've been very helpful. Shout out to LBR Plumbing and Heating.
Yeah, in my house, we had a washing machine break and we had a second machine. No problem. Let's use the second machine. But I think I was the one who did something wrong one day. I haven't admitted it yet. So somebody has to come at that point. You do have to call somebody and get them over, unless you want to go to the laundry. And if you want to social distance, that's not the place to go, going to the laundry.
That's right. It
works all different ways. You do what you have to do. Paula Hernandez, Executive Director, Brewster, Chamber of Commerce here in Putnam Talk Radio. What's happening in the Lower Hudson Valley? Paula, here we are, about 18 months into the pandemic now, and we are trying our best to move past it. Let's talk about what's going on now, what is going to happen. First of all, is staffing a problem at restaurants and at different businesses throughout the county?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Not a question across the board, whether it's the repair and service industry, the support services industry, retail, and restaurants. Everyone has had troubles. We actually had a seminar just for that, for our members. What we're seeing is a very complicated issue related to that. Some people haven't rejoined the workforce yet, especially primary caregivers, some lower paid positions. It's easier to stay home. Some other people are deciding, it's time to retire. So they're leaving the workforce altogether. So there's a whole mishmash of things that are coming together. And unfortunately, businesses are suffering. They're offering bonuses. And that's the big thing. I just posted for a couple of our members that they were looking for jobs, and they're offering quite significant bonuses and retention bonuses for staying. And that's what has to happen. With new homeowners coming up to Putnam County, home insurance the business for home insurance has been very busy. And, at that point, you need a skilled, trained, certified insurance person, and they're hard to come by. And it's been tough for a lot of our members. They're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we're hoping, September will bring a little bit of a calm, and we'll be able to staff and staff well. We'll see.
Look at it from this standpoint. Businesses right now looking for people that will find people, as you point out, one by one to fill the holes. Come September, when the extra unemployment insurance stipend runs out and you go back to the normal amount that you get in New York State, I guess at that point, people will say, okay, I have to go back to work now. Here's what I'd like to do. They go try to do what they want to do or what they used to do, and they may find that job is not there anymore because somebody had to fill that hole.
Mm-hmm. And there are some predictions, too, that once companies mandate that you must come back to the office, some people may decide, that's just not for me. So you're going to see a shift in workplace. So there may not be so much of a drought in employment or employees as much as just a shift in staffing. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens, particularly with commuters. Will more Putnam County residents decide that they don't want to commute to the city, and they want to stay closer to home, or maybe they'll be able to work from home, so the home-based office. So it should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think we still have some time on that, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting during the fall. for people trying to find work and maybe not able to go back to what they used to do, and they have to shift and they have to go do something else instead. What events does the Chamber have lined up right now for the rest of summer and into the autumn too?
Sure. Well, our summer is usually quite quiet. We have our upcoming business meeting. It's our monthly member networking dinner meetings that we do. So that's August 18th at the Southeast Grill House. And we usually get a pretty good turnout for that. And then apart from that, we've got ribbon cuttings. We've got new businesses and we've got new owners taking over existing businesses. So we just did a ribbon cutting a few months ago for the Patterson Rotary Flea Market up on Route 22 in Patterson. We've got a ribbon cutting coming up this August 1st, which is a Sunday at 2:00 in Putnam Lake for Uncle Luigi's, which is an ice cream and Italian ice shop. So that should be a particularly good one. They're going to have some goodies there. And Sherwin-Williams is a new store here in Brewster on Star Ridge Road, and they'll be opening shortly. We're expecting in end of July, early August. So we'll be doing a ribbon cutting for them as well.
You keep busy cutting those ribbons, right?
I have giant scissors. I have to use them.
I got to use them, right? And then they run out, they get used up, they get worn out, and you got to go buy more, and that provides more business around the county, right?
Absolutely.
It all works together, hand in hand.
Absolutely.
To-go alcohol. You talked about people taking out cocktails a few minutes ago during the pandemic. And that's an issue now. To-go alcohol, should that continue? Should restaurants, bars, etc., be allowed to sell alcohol, kind of a la carte, cash and carry? I go in, I buy a drink or two, I take it out with me, or I go get a cocktail and take it out with me. There's talk that it should stay. There's talk that it should be pre-pandemic style. It should not be like that anymore as we move out of the pandemic. What is to prevent me or anyone going into a bar, a restaurant, ordering a beer, bottle of wine, a carafe of wine, cocktail, etc., taking it out with me? I drive home, I'm stuck in traffic, or maybe a hot toddy, and that hot toddy is getting cold while I'm stuck in traffic, and I say, well, nobody's looking, which is a drawback, obviously, but still, should we keep to-go alcohol?
Well, I don't agree with opening it in the car on the way home. I don't think anyone should do that.
But we can't stop someone if they do that, obviously. Unless we sit in the car with them and grab them and say, can't do it.
That's an issue of judgment at that point, yes. It's interesting because I think right now, restaurants in particular who really struggled through the pandemic are looking for ways to add to their business.
Keep the ball rolling, right?
Yes, to keep the ball rolling and also to make up for some losses. That's something that I think they're going to have to duke out with the legislators. We haven't heard any strong opinions out of any of the restaurant owners here in Brewster, but that's not to say they don't hold any.
If you sat down with county legislators about this issue, what would you say?
I'm not sure that I am in a position to have a say. We support our members, but we try not to get involved in issues of law, because this is, it really, it's
could go either way.
Safety, it's public safety on one hand, and it's freedom of enterprise on another. And that's a really difficult one. It's much like the dispensary question as well, which, in Putnam County and many of the towns have already voted. Carmel won't be having any. I believe the village of Brewster won't be having any. So I think the issue of the alcohol is a much bigger issue. And the Brewster Chamber, we're here for our members, but we try to stand back on something like this.
It may not even be a county issue after a certain point, maybe a state legislative issue.
I think it will be a state issue.
Yeah, I do too. Coming up now, we have the autumn after summer. What are your hopes for the fall and into the holiday season for the Brewster Chamber of Commerce? What might you be looking forward to doing at this point, knowing that we have the Delta variant now and the new Lambda variant too, and things could change.
Absolutely. We're cautiously optimistic. We have a high vaccination rate here in Putnam County and a low lab diagnosed rate of COVID. So, those are good things for us. I think we're behaving ourselves for the most part. Business is pretty much getting back to the usual comfort level of face-to-face interactions. People are, our members, I've been starting to visit a lot of our members now where I wouldn't earlier in the year, just both out of respect and out of safety. It was phone calls and emails, et cetera, Zoom meetings. Now I think people are far more comfortable keeping distance, trying to be outdoors where we can. So the chamber is just mirroring that. We're really trying to do the best we can to go back to business while maintaining safety. And I think, using, that logic has I think that served well. And in the fall, we will be we'll continue to have our in-person meetings until or if we can't, depending on, these variants and the way they go. We usually have our elections. We will be having our board elections in November, and that's always a very well-attended meeting. Very excited. We have 1 to 2 positions possibly available. So we'll be looking for new board members. So that's something that we are looking forward to. Last year, when we had our elections, we actually did them through on the internet through Google, using the forms that you fill out. Mm-hmm. So people voted electronically. We'd never done that before, so we really had to figure that out quickly. We had intended to do in person, and a week beforehand, the board decided maybe that wasn't a good idea for November, as things were starting to get a little worse here. So, if we don't do our in-person election, we'll do it online again.
And for someone who might like to run for the board, what are the qualifications?
The qualifications is that you're a member in good standing and that you've been a member for a year. And we have a wonderful board of directors. Candace Shirillo is our president. She has a great vision. We're very community minded. We're looking to get involved more in Brewster and Southeast. We've helped out. The VFW needed a little bit of help, so we sent out the request to our members, and our members came back with so much to help them out when they needed it. And we want to do more of that. We want to do more community outreach. And so in August, we'll be meeting, and the board will be planning for 2022. And we have a lot of initiatives we're very excited about that will be announced over the fall. Some will start in the fall and some will happen in 2022. And we're really excited about that. I think that's going to, hopefully with the variants, if everything goes well, we'll be able to even plan some bigger in-persons.
Most of all, I think we all have to be impressed as to how business carried on in Brewster during the pandemic.
Absolutely. Hats off to business owners, big and small, how they managed to maintain and stay above water. As many have said to me, that's exactly what we did. We just made sure we stayed with our heads above the water to get through this pandemic. So, anything we can do, shop local, support your local businesses. It means so much more to the community to keep these businesses going in our community, and to grow. The more businesses we have here, the happier the families are living here, because I don't have to drive really far. Right. And I don't have my money going into a pocket of a conglomerate when I don't have to. Mm-hmm. I think the people of Brewster feel the same way.
Brewster Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Paula Hernandez, for anyone who might be considering joining the chamber, and for anyone who's got a question or maybe a thought, an idea, how can we get in touch with you? Phone, email, etc.
Absolutely. You can phone me, 845-279-2477, or you can email Brewster Chamber, which is info@brewsterchamber.com. And our website lists a directory of our members, as well as some other former members that were our business is located in Brewster. We have an events calendar. We put our members' events as well as our own, and we have a blog. So we're giving a little bit of helpful hints and advice for other businesses and even for consumers. It's a helpful website, and that's brewsterchamber.com.
Paula Hernandez, Executive Director, Brewster Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here on Putnam Talk Radio and telling us about all the good things the Brewster Chamber of Commerce has done throughout the pandemic, previous to the pandemic, and what the Chamber will continue to do. Thank you, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Paula Hernandez, Executive Director, Brewster Chamber of Commerce here on Putnam Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. What's happening in the Lower Hudson Valley, produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Putnam County-based Tompkins Mahopac Bank, and by Robeson Oil, the house that service built by White Plains Hospital, by Lipolis Electric. At Lipolis, don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. Hightower, Westchester, they cover our whole Hudson Valley area, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard, and by Michael Labriola, landscape design and construction of Armonk. Catch all of our Putnam, Dutchess, Arlington, Rockland, Westchester, and Fairfield County talk radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube.